Learn, work, thrive, lead, persist, communicate.
Portrait of a Graduate. Welcome to our podcast.
The Springfield Public Schools Portrait of a Graduate is the community's vision of essential skills and attributes that students will learn before they graduate. It is intended to empower Springfield schools and the community to reimagine teaching and learning inside and outside of schools. More than 200 people attended our community events. At least 700 educators participated in educator conversations. Around 50 student leaders participated, and about 1,400 people reviewed draft copies of the portrait and provided feedback. It took more than a year to engage those stakeholders, more than 2,000 of them, in conversations where district officials listened to their hopes and dreams for Springfield youth. The result of those conversations is the Portrait of a Graduate, a single document that lists central skills and attributes that Springfield schools, along with the community, will help students develop. The next step in our work is continued engagement with educators, students, and community members, and utilizing the portrait as a blueprint that will guide the district's strategic plan for the next 5 years, a strategic plan that defines new ways to inspire and empower our students. Hi, I'm your host, Azell Cavaan, and welcome to the first POG podcast of the 23-24 school year. For this episode, I want you to think back. Go all the way back to your years in elementary, middle, and high school. Now, think of the adults in your life at school during those years. Not a teacher necessarily, but maybe so. Someone who you felt cared about you, not only as a student, but as a person. Does a face come to mind? Does a name immediately pop into your head? While students have many teachers, counselors, interventionists, coaches, and other adults whom they interact with throughout the course of the day during school, the Portrait of a Graduate initiative will ensure that every student has a primary person who acts as their go-to, for lack of a better word, for all things school. And this episode of POG the Podcast will hopefully illustrate the importance of such connections. You will hear from 11 students who, in their own words, tell us who they feel connected to in their school and what that connection does for them as a student and as someone navigating through life. So, without further ado, we'll start with Absalon Cardona. Have you ever had an experience with an adult in your school that you felt the relationship was like deeper than just the classroom, somebody who you looked up to for some reason?
Yes, that would be the staff junior, and the reason why is because when we talk and when we get along together, we don't just do work, we actually have jokes, we actually talk to each other. And we have communications beyond just work. Even though we do get our work done, we have our jokes there. And we're able to basically build a friendship beyond just the school, because instead of sitting here and only focusing on work, you can actually have a side conversation while you're still doing your work and not being bored while doing your work and talking to somebody. Junior is a interventionist para, which he usually works inside the class as a staff, and he walks around into the building and has a great relationship with most of the students because he knows how to communicate, keep kids to calm down, and he doesn't judge people by their cover. So he tends to speak and have a great ability to communicate to the students because he understands how they feel inside of the school. He understands how they work and how everything happens and how stressed kids could be. So being able to lighten them up, make them laugh, do a couple jokes here and there, being able to get them back onto work, or bring in fidgets as he usually does, such as Rubik's Cubes, you are able to stay focused and you're able to communicate with him because he's such an easy person to communicate. He does his job amazingly. He knows how to do it perfectly. He knows how to get kids regulated to the point where they are actually stimulated for work and being able to do work while speaking to them as a multitask ability. He basically does a misdirection so that whenever they're mad to not do work, he gets them happy. He starts speaking to them and they'll unconsciously do the work by themselves without asking for help while they know how to do it because they're able to speak to somebody.
Wow.
Being able to speak to somebody and not being interrupted or not being like judged on what you're saying because you're able to talk to somebody about the same topic for the same thing, it relieves people of stress. It lets people not be too stressed out, get work done, be more focused because they're able to connect with a teacher instead of being told what to do, such as an example, oh, my teacher tells me to do math and all he's talking about is math, instead of saying, oh yeah, like let's say, oh, I have 14 cars. Yeah, y'all like cars, right? Let's say that's like a Corvette, a Bugatti. There's 2 Bugattis, 3 Corvettes. You guys can get the math done as y'all are more interacting with the question instead of just being it as a regular mathematical question. It gets people confused because a lot of people work in different ways. My name's Absalon Cardona, and I would like to thank Junior, Mr. McClure, Coach Mitchell, Mr. Mills, Mr. White, and Miss Reed, and a lot of these teachers for what they do in this school, because they do an amazing job in this school and they do everything they need to do to be able to teach these kids, even though they are a pain in the butt. And I thank you for everything you have done for me and for everything you have done for these children.
Ariel Cummings. Did you find that there was anybody in your building who you were able to connect with to help you make that adjustment?
Mr. Ryan. This year he's my AP psychology teacher, and last year I took AP US history with him. Yeah.
So what was it about Mr. Ryan that made you feel comfortable enough to sort of see him in a light other than just your psychology teacher?
He's different from any other teacher that I've had. He's like, his classroom environment is very open, and I know like I can talk to him about anything that I need to, and I don't really know how to describe it. He's just an amazing person.
It's more of a feeling that you get
Yeah.
in the class. So when you say it's open, I know it's hard to describe, but what do you mean? Is it that it's open?
It's a very safe space. I know whatever I tell him won't leave the walls of his classroom unless it's a serious situation. And I know he's not a judgy person. He's not going to judge me for any of my flaws.
How did you start to feel like this is a person who's open and accepting of all people?
It's the way he teaches, and like he's open to navigating around subjects, and like if we have a question, he'll be like, okay, we're gonna go this way, instead of having to be on that like strict schedule of we're gonna do this and this today. He's willing to kind of move around it if we're curious about something else. I think he builds on his students' curiosity very well.
Ashley Velasquez.
During your time between 6th grade and 7th grade, have there been any teachers here who you felt a connection with?
I would say the counselor, Ms. Benz, my social studies teacher, Ms. Christian, and my technology engineering teacher, Mr. Isaac.
What would you think it is about those teachers?
I like all 3 of them have a really good sense of humor.
A sense of humor. So they make class fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do to like feel connected to them? Is it because you talk to them, or what makes it a little special?
They just have like specific conversations with the students, so they get to know the students more, and then you just feel more connected to them.
When you say they talk to students, is it about the subject in class, or is it about the students as people and things that they like outside of class?
Both. They help with both. the work that we're doing in class and just, how your day was, how your weekend was.
So it's like they take an interest outside of your grades, but what's happening in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they ever talk about maybe what they did over the weekend? Or?
Yeah, sometimes when they ask how their weekend was, they tell how their weekend was and what they did.
Yeah. What's it like when a teacher tells you what they did over the weekend?
It's like, because you wouldn't think like a teacher does a lot of stuff, but like their life outside is like really interesting and like to see what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that really stands out and you're like, wow, my teacher paints or boats or?
Yes, my technology teacher, Mr. Isaac, he does a lot. He does a lot, and he's like really interesting. He just knows he knows a lot about stuff.
Stuff like outdoor stuff or?
Yeah, like everything.
So stuff that has nothing to do with technology.
Yeah, and he can just talk about it.
What would you say to somebody coming into 6th grade? What would you tell them when it comes to having an adult in the building that you feel connected to?
I think it's really important because sometimes not every day is a perfect day, so having a teacher you can go to and talk to is really important.
Cayden-Chanel Roberts.
Cayden, let me ask you, is there anyone or any people in this school who you feel connected to?
There's a lot of people, actually. I feel, because like the most people I feel connected to are like the newer people I've just been introduced to, like my 5th grade teachers, or maybe my 4th grade teacher, or there's this really nice teacher named Jasmine Lopez that works here. She had walked out the teacher's lounge when we were in the hallway. And she's like a really nice teacher. She feels so kind and she's compassionate and she just likes to help students.
Do you think it makes a difference to the student when you're in your classroom learning if you feel a special connection to the teacher?
Yes, because when you have a connection with a certain person, you really have like that motivation to do something, or you really have that like, I can do this, I want to do this, I'll get through this with them. And it's like they can help you too. Because Miss Lopez, she's like a paraprofessional and she's like a sub sometimes, and she's like, she gives us like break time when like we're doing iReady, and it's like, oh my god, I don't want to do this, I'm tired, can we do something else? And she's like, oh yeah, sure. And she calls us lovey, she calls us baby birds, she calls us her little monsters.
Right.
And like she's like, oh, of course, lovey, we could do something else, let's take a 15-minute break, la la la. And like only if you get back to work immediately, because like she knows how to compromise fun with work. She has a great balance with it.
Great. Did you just figure it out? Like what? Because nobody says, oh, I'm going to have a special connection to that person. It's just something that you feel, that you notice. How does it come about?
It's like how you make a friend. Like you talk to that person for a few, and then you start like seeing that person more and more, and you start like talking to that person even more, and it's like, oh my god, I think I have a friend now. It's like you just like suddenly one day it like clicks you. Sometimes you notice it. Like,
right. So what would you say to, because there might be some teachers who are great teachers, but they only see themselves as a teacher. They may not see themselves as somebody who could be a Miss Lopez or like a friend to their students. What advice would you give somebody who was a teacher and, didn't really strike up close friendships or relationships with their students?
Try to like be more compassionate. I don't mean to say like nicer or kinder, but like try to be kinder to your students. Try to incorporate different kinds of fun things your students would like to do with the work. Like for our science expo, we have a science expo tomorrow for Science MCAS, which is Monday and Tuesday. So we have this thing called Science Expo, and it's basically like we play games about science, we do bingo and stuff. So try doing stuff like Jeopardy. Try doing stuff like bingo. Try playing games. Try giving like breaks, but try giving like a block of free time for your students.
Do you think that teachers or adults in the building should talk to students about the things that they like to do outside of school?
I think so, because like talking to a teacher inside of school is like one thing. Oh, they're supposed to talk to me. They're supposed to talk to me. Talking to a teacher outside of school about something you like is like, oh, well, they like it too. So I guess like, and you get like, oh, not flustered, but you get kind of like, oh my God, I have a kind of connection with this person because they're talking to me about something I like outside of school.
Right.
They're doing it on their own time.
Yep.
Christian Cologne.
What has been your experience just in terms of outside of academics, just in terms of like the staff and teachers and connecting with folks here at Central?
I would call myself an oddball because I couldn't connect with kids my age. So I'd mainly
Old soul.
yeah,
Call that.
I'd mainly really befriend adults. So I'd usually go to the admin for advice on what I should do, how I should view certain things, and just mainly advice for anything about life. And in a way, I kind of befriended a lot of people, including some teachers. One teacher I could bring up is Miss For Lizzie. She's my ELA honors teacher. Throughout my school years, she was someone I can really look up to give me advice or to calm my mind.
Right.
Because school can be very overwhelming.
You know, what's the feeling or what does a person do or say that makes you know, I'm going to go to this person and talk about this?
Well, the way I see it is when a teacher actually looks for the student and sees that they're struggling and reaches out by themselves without actually having the student come up to them and ask for help. When a teacher looks at a student that looks kind of upset or irritated and they come up and ask questions, trying to build a bond, that's how you know that a teacher is actually there for them and not just to teach.
Kenson Mitchell.
I feel connected to a teacher named Mr. Reyes.
Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
What is it about Mr. Reyes?
He's funny and he makes me get over things very fast. And he's helped me get prepared for 6th grade. And he encouraged me to be in student council, which is a program that help you be a better leader.
Excellent. So, do you have Mr. Reyes for a teacher?
No,
What kind
but
of teacher is he?
he's like a sub, or he could be a sub or
Okay.
gym teacher, just whatever.
Okay. What was it that made you feel a connection with him?
He's just very funny and playful.
Yeah. People at home who care for you and you feel connected to. And I'm sure you have other relatives and people your age who you feel connected to. But is it different to have somebody in your school as well?
Yes, because it's not like at home where you can just talk to your mom or talk to your dad. It's just school.
So he's somebody who you can go to if, like, if you were home, you might just go to your mom. And
Yeah.
talk with this. But since you're at school, you can go to Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
What would be your message if there was a teacher out there who was an excellent teacher, but really never really connected with kids the way Mr. Reyes and you connect? What would be your advice?
I think you should just try and connect with other kids and try to make their day.
Dioyendrick Soriano.
Is there anybody here at White Street School, an adult in your building, who you feel like a nice connection to?
Oh, Miss Collins, our principal, 100%.
Miss Collins, the principal?
Yeah.
What is it about Miss Collins that makes you feel comfortable?
So, like, every time before a test, she always comes, gives a speech. Like, I'm sometimes feeling down, so she just, like, brings me up again.
Really?
Yeah.
So, she's the principal. A lot of students might be afraid of their principal, but here at White Street, it seems like the students, or at least you find a friend in your principal.
Yeah.
Do you think that makes a difference for the students if they can feel that way about their principal or somebody else in the building?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Tell me how it makes you feel like when there's somebody you can talk to at school.
Oh, no, I feel really good about myself because I just have someone to talk to, like, when I don't have my friends or something.
Kevin Lee.
there are multiple people that I do appreciate talking to, even if like, it's like a casual day, I always want to talk with them because communication between me and them is like really nice, and it gives me comfort and like ability to feel nice in school and feel comfort and security. Overall, do you want me to talk about a specific person?
Sure, if somebody comes to mind.
I do have a friend who is like, a good friend. He's like a really understanding person. He's comedic, he's funny, but he's very serious too, which I like about people because he can focus on his education, but at the same time when school's not busy, we can talk and have some good moments between each other and discuss things. And teacher wise, we have multiple teachers that are just glad that we can see as someone who can help us and guide us to support, and they can also make us feel comfortable just like a student too, because they offer their support and they're willing to understand, and they also give the seriousness about life. For example, one of our teachers here really cares about our education to the point where he wants us to start working to build ourselves a better place, because he wants us to be the new generation to improve the world of where it's standing from. Because he knows that his previous generations have, done some achievable things, but overall, he wants us to be the impact that changes the whole world and changes the course of history.
So who is that teacher?
Mr. McCarthy. He's a science teacher, and overall, he's like a very great person. He's an inspirational figure, actually, because he has a really interesting story. Although I'm not sure if I can say it, but it's because his story is it's about falling, but then rising instantly to recover and making more achievements and achieving more, because you have failed previously, but however, it doesn't mean it's the end of your journey. So he made his journey the worth of it and had an adventure of his lifetime to improve, and now here he is now teaching us so that we could have a better journey, but at the same time have the impact that he hopes he can have after we leave.
Wow, that's amazing. That is inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
And that he shares it with his students is really great, because there may be a lot of teachers with personal stories like that they don't share, but it could be inspiring to other students, just like Mr. McCarthy's story is inspiring to you.
Yeah, Miss McCarthy is a person who gives he's a teacher who ensures that the classes are exact. Discipline's correct, and the education system and learning system is smooth, no troubles. Any trouble, he'll deal with it immediately because he does not want any problems in his classroom. But however, overall, he can be a wholesome person if you talk with him. So overall, if you are a good student and you understand him more, and you respect him, he gives the same too. Although for us students, we need to understand that there's a teacher and student boundary, so that he's a teacher, and we must understand that respect and borders must be respected too. There are also teachers who really would talk with you, and if say you have a serious moment, they can comfort you, they can support you, and give you that exact feeling of security, and because if you're unaware and you're lost in the world of stress, uncomfort, that teacher would always ask if everything's all right, how can I help you? And they always find a good way to at least support us some way and somewhat. And they also give us words of wisdom that can help us and educate us to the point where it could actually impact our lives and influence us to be a better person. And for example, there are many students who do the same thing too. There are students that are they're serious. They're good students because they understand how school is supposed to work and they follow the algorithm. But of course, every single student is unique, different, and always special in their own way. And each student can give you a new opportunity and a new way of looking into your character. Because, for example, a good student can always be a funny one, and he can always make you help you learn, but always make sure that it's not too serious. It's not too not too ambiguous, not too serious to the point where you feel stressed and that you need to do exactly the same things. He's offering you the space that we feel safe in, which I find very good in students that can do that for us.
Leissa Frias.
One of the connections I made with one of the staff members was Sandra Olan. She's my guidance counselor, and she pushed me to apply to as many universities as possible. She helped me not limit myself to just one. She also helped me figure out what I wanted to do, because I was going to go into school undecided. and she helped me realize like what my passion was. Another person is also George Johnson, my Principal Johnson, and he motivated me to go to a university that was a little out of my price point, but he said that it would be worth it in the end. And he influenced me to go harder for it. He influenced me to speak to schools, see if I could get any more funding out of them. And, you know, that motivated me to end up going with my top choice, which was the University of Albany.
How did it feel knowing that when you were going to school, you weren't just coming here to learn, but you were building these kind of relationships?
Honestly, it helped me a lot because they formed a relationship with me that impacted me. It helped me figure out what I wanted to do. And I feel like if I didn't form these relationships with them, I probably wouldn't end up where I am now. I feel like I would have limited myself to Springfield instead of figuring out that I'd be better out of state or better off doing another major instead of going in undecided.
And then you mentioned your elementary school teacher.
Yes, she was, I had came in as a Spanish speaker, and she was pushing me to learn English. She helped me whenever I needed help. And even when I would get frustrated, she just kept insisting. That's why my English is now better than my Spanish, which is crazy. Mm-hmm.
If you can say like one thing to this collection of people, like in gratitude, what would you say to them?
Honestly, I tell them how grateful I am and how thankful I am that they motivated me and helped mold me into the person I am now. And that my future is really, like, I owe them, because my future now is taking off in ways that I never thought I could have did by myself without them.
Ronal Dominguez.
The staff member that I've made a connection with is Miss Alvarado. She's a teacher, the English teacher for 8th grade. In my experience, she's been a really great influence on what I've been able to understand from not just the English subject, but from what I've been able to understand about experiences from my peers. I've been able to become a more observant person, somebody who can actually clearly and concisely express my thoughts, whereas at the beginning of the year, it was somewhat obscure to me. All these skills that I've been able to learn because of this class, mainly things that I really value, such as being clear, precise, and just being able to express yourself in a way that creates a good impression.
Yeah. Can you tell me about a moment where you felt the connection to the staff member, like an example where you felt in that moment you guys built confidence with each other?
In class has been a particular mode through which we've been able to create an understanding. A lot of the time, the toughness that she places on me and her ability to really make and create something that's really rather different has had a very good impact on me, and the connection that she's been able to just make with me and many others is really, really special. I think that a lot of the time when I present questions to her, or when I present an essay or some assignment to her, she gives me feedback. She tells me you need to toughen it up, or if I'm stuck on a problem, she tells me just write, just do it, don't think. And when you finish, you can review it, you can think later, and you can ask the questions that you want to ask so that these things meet your standards.
And if you could tell her one thing, whether it's thank you or giving gratitude, what would you say to her?
I mean, not merely just a thank you, it's something that's going to last for a lifetime, and I really appreciate the bond that we've been able to create in school, and sometimes after school, or sometimes outside of school. I think that the professional relationship that she's been able to develop with me and a lot of students is something that is actually very satisfying. She can be tough, or she can make you laugh. She can help you when you're sad. She can help you even when you're happy, and she's not afraid to tell you when you need to do things the right way. It's a nice balance with an individual, and as a teacher, she has something that not a lot of teachers do have. The performance of many students is sufficiently higher compared to other teachers, in my opinion. because of how can I word it? Because of her ability to pay attention to students, it's a lot easier to improve because it's not something rigid. It's more you can transform rather than just change in a more linear pattern. You can actually go up. You can actually progress. Sometimes the line will be exponential. Sometimes the line will just be on a particular trajectory. It's all different for certain students, and I think that she really highlights the importance of paying attention to students even outside of school.
Zoë Cartagena. So Zoe, is there anyone or any people here at Walsh School who you feel like you have a connection to besides your friends?
Yeah, there's a lot. Last year in 4th grade, probably Mrs. Lambert and Miss Medina, my reading and math teachers, and I still talk to Miss Lambert like in the morning. Like sometimes I would just go to her room and just say hi, like good morning, and probably like my math teacher now, Miss Pagan.
What is it about those teachers that makes you feel connected to them?
That like not only did they like help me learn, like they explained like why, and if they were hard on me, like they would explain that they weren't being hard on me. It's just like, yeah, but it's like why they were doing it and not just so they can be hard on me. It was like they helped me, like besides school stuff, like I would ask for help, like mentally or like physically, and they would help me. Mm-hmm. And also like Mrs. Pagan and Mrs. Lambert, I like math, so that's also hard. Yeah.
That helps when you like the subject that the teachers teach. So there had to be something about the teacher that made you feel comfortable to say, oh, you know what? I want to talk to you about something that doesn't have anything to do with math or English, but I was wondering if you could help me with whatever. What is it that you think they have about them that made you feel safe about going and asking them that?
Hanging out with them like more often, like being there and like seeing their side of stuff, and like it's like the energy that they give off. Like if they're like hard all the time, it's like first like okay, I would like see why, like from my perspective, and like try to see from their perspective of it and like understand why, and be like okay, just like try and at least like talk to them about before asking, like so I know how they are, so then I can know how to ask it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like it helps, because I'm sure you have family members and friends of the family outside of school, maybe grandparents, aunts, uncles, just a whole other network of people in your life who are there for you. Do you think that you also need those kinds of people in school, even if you have that outside of school?
Yeah, because like you feel like, okay, I have these people out of school, but then it's like if you don't have those people in school, it's like uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like if you like it's more of like they feel like family to you. It's like okay, I have family out of school and I have family in school.
And so there you have it in their own words, why connections for students to at least one adult in their building is so important. When I think back on my own school days and the adults who took a vested interest in my success, I'm excited about the portrait of a graduate ensuring that all students have access to that kind of support. And as we look to implement the community's vision, hopes, and dreams for Springfield youth, Springfield Public Schools believes the primary person model will help students find optimal success as they graduate high school and advance to college or career. Thanks for listening, and we hope to catch you next time on POG, the podcast. Portrait of a Graduate, the podcast, is a production of the Springfield Public Schools Office of Communication. Azell, Cavaan, executive producer and host. Christian Polanco, production manager. Theme music written by Marcos Carreros, music teacher at the Springfield Conservatory of the Arts, and performed by the Conservatory of the Arts School Band.
And I'm Davion Gatson Cogman. And I'm Ariella from Glenwood.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Have a great day.